Before we start to look at the listening part, there are some example questions available for you. So please download the course material for this lesson so as you can follow along. Now let's look at part 1. This part is usually the easiest as the vocabulary used is casual and free-flowing. There are gaps between questions and the speakers often speak slowly and clearly. This part is a conversation between two people in an everyday context. You will be listening out for specific information such as dates, times, or names. Now let's look at some tips I have for you to make this part of the exam a little bit easier. Tip number 1. The listening part of the exam will allow you time before the audio starts to read the questions. This is very important. Often when you read the questions, you can kind of guess the style of the answer. Here's an example. The express train leaves at. Now you can already guess the style of answer here. It's going to be a point in time. So that means a specific time. Having a good understanding of general English will help you a lot. Now we all know the word at can refer to either a time or a location, right? Well, then we have two options to answer. And the more logical one would be time, because of the word leave. So you've guessed the answer. Now we just need to wait and hear the specific number. So let's listen to the audio.
Good morning, Travel Link. How can I help you?
Good morning. I live in Bayswater and I'd like to get to Harbour City tomorrow before 11 a.m.
Well, to get to Bayswater...
No, I live in Bayswater. My destination is Harbour City.
Oh, sorry. Right, so that's Bayswater to Harbour City. Are you planning to travel by bus or train?
I don't mind, really. Whichever option is faster, I suppose.
Well, if you catch a railway express, that'll get you there in under an hour. Let's see. Yes, if you can make the 9:30 a.m. express, I'd recommend you do that.
Now that you've heard the audio, you can see what the specific number was. Now let's try something a bit harder. Here's another example, and we're going to try and estimate what the answer is going to be again. Question 37. American boys drop out of school at a higher rate than girls because, and this is a multiple choice question. You have answer A, they need to be in control of the way they learn. Answer B, they play video games instead of doing schoolwork. Or answer C, they are not as intelligent as girls. So let's look at this question. A and B seem like possible answers. C, however, seems like a totally wrong answer. Why? Well, it's common knowledge that girls just simply are not more intelligent than boys. So we can eliminate C, which gives us only two options left. This is called the process of elimination, and you should engage this wherever possible. So let's have a listen to the audio to see what the answer is.
Did you know that every 9 seconds, a child in the USA drops out of school? For boys, the rate is much higher than for girls. We could easily say, well, boys just aren't as bright as girls. But the evidence doesn't support this. A recent study states that boys in America, by the age of 21, have spent 10,000 hours playing video games. The research suggests that they'll never fit in the traditional classroom because these boys require a situation where they have the ability to manage their own learning environment.
Now let's look at tip number 3. Another piece of advice that I can offer you is look carefully at the instructions. Know exactly what you're supposed to do and how many words you need to write. Look at the questions and see if you're supposed to write 2 words or a number. Now let's look at tip number 4. When reading the questions, some people like to underline the key words or just words that stand out for them to help them listen for those words. Now there is a catch with this one. The words may not be the exact words. Rather, they may be something similar. For example, the word feeding may be said as eating. Tip number 5. Sometimes the speakers will repeat themselves in the first part of the exam only. They might spell a name but go back and correct it. So you must be aware of this common occurrence and catch the right answer. Here's an example for you.
Which station does that leave from?
Helendale is the nearest train station to you.
Did you say Helensvale?
No, Helendale. That's Helendale.
Tip number 6. It's spelling. I know you're going to rush writing the answer, so you can focus on listening to the next question. Now that's totally okay, but when you get your 10 minutes at the end to transfer your answers to the answer sheet, double or even triple check your spelling. If you misspell a word, it will be marked incorrectly. Now the final tip I can offer you for section 1 is tip number 7. It's how to write numbers, letters, and grammar. The first thing we're going to look at is the word double, where there are two of the same number or letter. Sometimes you might hear the word double. So here's an example. The word Michelle. The audio might say Michelle, M-I-C-H-E-L-L-E, which means that you have to write 2 L's. Now let's look at decimals. Decimals can be said in 2 different ways, American and British. Here's 2 examples. Americans say 0.76, and this is what it looks like. Whereas British say 0.76, and it's exactly the same answer. Let's look at percentages and fractions. Some people may say the word half, or some may say 50%. The same goes for 1/4 or 25%, and so on. Now, when it comes to money, it can be a little bit more difficult. You may already know how people express money in real life, but here are the basics anyway. Sometimes you may hear $5.50 or you may hear $5.50. The answer is exactly the same. You may also hear pounds or dollars, so be aware of that one as well. Dates and times. When saying a year, you may hear 2012 or you may hear 2012. When hearing time, you may hear 10:20 or you may hear 10:20. All of these tips will be helpful for you when you're completing the first part of the listening exam. In the next video, we will be going through the second part of the listening exam. I will be offering tips and advice that will help you pass and get a good score in that part of the exam.